Hi boys and girls. Today we're going to do an art project that's a Valentine project, but the project is also about pattern. So right now I'm going to review a little bit of what we learned last week about pattern by showing you an example of the project that we did in class together. So last week we learned that a pattern was when something, really anything, was repeated over and over in a way so that we could predict or we could tell what was going to happen next. So for example, in this project that we did, we had a green circle, a blue circle, and a red one. And then we put another green, another blue, and another red. And that made a pattern. So we as a class knew the next three colors were going to be green, blue, and red. We did this kind of a pattern using numbers, hearts, bigger circles, flowers, little dots. We did it with ABCs. When I walked around and I looked at boys and girls' work, I saw that they had done patterns out of clouds and sunshines. They did all kinds of wonderful patterns. So I think that you were very, very strong on what a pattern was. And today we're going to use that pattern information, all that knowledge that we learned, to create a beautiful Valentine. I'm going to show you just a couple other patterns. I'm wearing a pattern right now. There's a pattern on my scarf. And you can see that there are repeated roses. So my pattern is a rose pattern, and there's also a little stripe in it, and the stripe is repeated too. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. What you're going to get is a piece of paper, and you're going to get 2 of these cardboard hearts. Put at your table. Just 2, because you aren't going to need them for very long. You're going to trace around the edges, and then you're going to pass them to somebody at your table. Okay. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take our paper and we're going to fold it in half, like this. Like that. And then I'm going to open it up. And I'm going to fold it in half the other way. In this project today, if your paper is not folded perfectly, it's okay. The reason that we're doing this is because we want to have 4 different squares or 4 different rectangles, and you'll see why in just a moment. Okay, so if it's not perfect, that's okay. So at this point, I'm going to pause the video and let you all fold your paper into 4 pieces. Okay. Welcome back. Now, you're going to take your heart. This one's already been used. You're going to take your cardboard heart and you're going to place it in the center of your paper. I'm going to use a Sharpie marker, but you're going to use a pencil. I'm going to use a Sharpie so that you can see it well. And I'm going to trace around the edge of my heart. Just like this. Okay. You can see I have a heart in the middle of my paper, and the fact that I folded it in half 2 times now gave me 4 different sections inside my heart. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4 sections in my heart. Okay, now here's where the pattern part comes in. You're going to be using oil pastels. Now, I'm not sure if I've ever used oil pastels with you before. I may have, but in case I haven't, you need to know a little something about oil pastels. They are fantastic. They're a crayon. They're an oily crayon, and they smear. They're softer than a wax crayon. An oil pastel, you can see it here, when you color onto your paper, will make a very bright, brilliant color. It's much brighter than if you color with a crayon. But it's also very smeary, which is a great thing, and it can be a very messy thing. You see it smears like that. I'm going to show you how it smears by writing on my finger. You are not supposed to write on your finger. I don't want you to do that. The reason I'm doing it is because I want you to see how smeary it is. Okay. The thing about oil pastels, when I get them out, do not let these get on the floor. If they get on the floor and we step on them, they get oil pastel smeared across the floor. It's really difficult to get up. Okay, so if I'm letting you use oil pastels, I'm trusting you to be very responsible with them. Okay, now here's what you're going to do with these oil pastels, because they are like crayons. You're going to make 4 different patterns, one pattern in each part of the heart. So, for example, maybe I'm going to use this red. And I think, in this peach color, I'm going to make polka dots in red and peach. And I don't know if you can see this. You know what? I'm going to put the camera like this. Okay. Red, peach. You can say this along with me if you want. Red, peach, red, peach, red, peach. I may come down here too. I want that one to be peach, red, peach, red. And here's why I wanted mine to alternate. So it's red, peach, red, red, peach, red, peach, peach, red, peach, red. Okay, so no reds are touching and no peaches are touching. Okay, the next one, I'm going to put some stripes. You can make patterns out of with whatever you want the patterns to be. I'm just choosing to do green and yellow stripes. Green, yellow, green, yellow, whoops, green, come over here and do a yellow, green, done. Okay, now, you've done this before in your fish project where you used a white oil pastel to make circles in the water so it looked like the fish had bubbles coming out of their mouths and all around them. Well, what we're going to do, well, you don't have to, but I am. I'm going to use white to make a pattern, and I'm going to make a pattern of clouds. I'm just going to make cloud, cloud. It's a very simple pattern where I'm just making clouds. And I'm going to fill that part of my heart with clouds. It's very difficult to see those clouds because it's white paper and it's a white oil pastel. But if you remember what happened last time when we used a white oil pastel, you'll remember that when we paint it, the white shows up really, really well. Now, in this last box, I'm going to do a wavy line. I'm going to do, actually, I think I'll do orange and blue as my wavy line. I'm doing this pattern of orange and blue, wavy lines, but you could put any kind of pattern in yours that you want. You could put flowers, you could put sunshines, you could put squares, you could put puppy dogs, polka dots, whatever you want. Totally up to you. All right, there we go. My heart is filled with patterns, and I'm ready for my last touch with the oil pastels. So I'm going to put my oil pastels back in the bowl. I'm going to get a black oil pastel out. With this black oil pastel, I'm going to draw around my heart. Now, just around the edge. So I'm going to press hard, and I'm going to draw around the outside of my heart with my oil pastel. The reason I've waited to do this at the end is because black is really smeary, and it will get all over the inside of your heart if you do it first. And, you know, that's not the end of the world. That's fine too. Now, you see how smeary it is. We're going to use our finger and we're going to do some smearing. So, here's mine. I'm going to take my finger and smear out. I'm going to make these smudge marks. And I'm going to put this down on the table and I'm going to show you how I'm going to do this. You'll see. So, I'm going to smear all the way around my heart with my finger. Like this. To just give it this effect. First of all, it kind of looks like the heart is racing through the air with those fast marks coming all around the edge of the heart. But also, it gives it a look like a little bit of a shadow, and I like that look too. This is something that we have not done before in kindergarten. We have not used our fingers to smear our pastels before, but we're going to do that today. So, there is my piece. It is, oh, I'm not on there very good. Very well. There we go. There's my piece, and it is ready to paint. All right. So, the next step is going to be to use your paints. You could use watercolor paints, but today we're going to use these cake tempera paints. Now, you know what? The cake tempera paints are a mess, and they're a mess because you guys didn't clean them out that well. What you're doing is you're like taking blue and using blue, and then you mix it in there, and then you mix it in here, and all of a sudden they're just plain a mess. And this was a pretty decent looking one, but it's not great. It's not great. So what you have to do if you want to have your paint, the colors to be clean, like really, who wants to use that yellow? Kind of yuck. Is rinse your brush. You have to rinse your brush every time you use a color. All right. You know what? I'm going to use some purple. So I'm going to use this tempera paint is like a watercolor. I add water to it to get it kind of drippy in the middle. And I'm going to start painting my Valentine. And as I paint my Valentine, that's when the magic happens. And that oil pastel, because it's oil, this is a little bit of science. Oil and water, they don't mix. It becomes a resist. So when I put wet, watery paint on to my Valentine, onto my oil pastels, it sticks to the paper and it runs off of the oil pastel, and the oil pastel shows. I'm going to add a little bit of orange to this. I like it when my colors run in together. I think that that's beautiful. You do yours however you want to do it, but I like them when they all blend together. Let's see, I'm going to add a little blue. What you can't see is that as I'm changing my colors, I'm washing my brush. I'm going to add a little more water, add a little turquoisey blue to this. Now, I'm holding mine up and painting, but you will not hold yours up. You will paint yours flat on the table. And I think I need a little green. Here we go. Now, let's see if you can see this well. Okay, my heart is complete. What I think I'm going to do now is I'm going to paint the outside edges of it. I can do that however I want. I'm going to paint red. Yes, I think I'm going to paint red. Maybe a little red and that dirty yellow. All right, super. As I finish this up, I'm going to talk to you about classroom expectations and behavior. Stay in your seat. Stay in your seat. Stay in your seat. That's the one thing that's going to keep you from being allowed to paint in my class is getting up out of your seat. I know that you always think, boys and girls, you're always thinking that, yes, but I need to do something. I need to get a drink of water. I need to wash my hands. I need to get a paper towel. I need to do all these things. But the truth is, you need to stay in your seat. All right. You're not going to get up and wash your hands. I'm going to bring you a paper towel. Okay. So if you really think you need to get up and do something, you need to raise your hand and you need to ask me or your other teacher if you can get up. All right. I'm finishing mine up. I hope you enjoy this project. I hope you love it as much as I do. I love this. I love hearts and Valentine's Day. To me, this is the most beautiful Valentine's project we've ever done. I think it is stunning. I'm going to show you mine right now. Gorgeous, right? Beautiful. Beautiful, expressive, colorful, and fun. I love you all. Happy Valentine's Day.